while talking. The referee pulls out a straight red card. Here's why. In the Champions League, Benfica's Prestiani covered his mouth and said something to Vinicius. Vinicius sprinted to the referee, claimed Prestiani called him a monkey, but proving it was impossible. FIFA saw that mess and introduced a rule nobody saw coming. Cover your mouth while confronting a player. It's an instant red. Almirón was playing his final World Cup. He became the first man in history to get red carded for it.
A World Cup can survive bad weather, ugly soccer, empty seats, and a flat 0-0. It cannot survive a rule nobody trusts. Paraguay just walked straight into that storm. Miguel Almirón did not throw a punch. He did not swing an elbow. He did not crash through an opponent with studs up. He covered his mouth during a heated exchange. Officials judged the moment serious enough, and one of Paraguay's biggest names got sent off. Red card, 1-match ban, no appeal. Paraguay had to face Australia without him, with a place in the next round still on the line. That sounds simple until you watch the clip. A hand rises, players crowd in, words fly. The referee waits. VAR checks. Then Almirón goes. Not for a tackle millions could freeze frame. Not for a handball line drawn across a screen. For something hidden from the audience, hidden from most cameras, hidden from fans who now have to accept the punishment without hearing the full evidence. That is why this story hit harder than a normal red card. FIFA wanted this new rule to close a loophole. For years, players covered their mouths while speaking on the field, sometimes to hide tactics, sometimes to block lip readers, sometimes to talk trash without cameras catching every word. Fans have seen it across American sports too. NFL quarterbacks shield play calls. NBA players hide comments at the free throw line. Baseball players cover their gloves during mound visits. In soccer, it became habit. FIFA saw danger inside that habit. Abuse can hide there. Racist insults, homophobic slurs, personal attacks, things no league wants on its biggest broadcast. So, the message came down. Cover your mouth during a confrontation, and you risk a red card. On paper, it sounds clean. On grass, under pressure, with a stadium roaring, it turns messy fast. Paraguay were leading Turkey 1-0 in Santa Clara when Almirón clashed with Mert Mulder near midfield. The game already had edge. Paraguay needed the result. Turkey were chasing. Tension sat on every challenge. Then came the confrontation. Almirón covered his mouth. The officials reviewed the incident. The red card came out. Paraguay had to play the whole second half with 10 men. They survived. They won. But the win did not end anything. It made everything louder. Because now the debate moved away from Paraguay versus Turkey and straight into FIFA's rulebook. Fans were not just asking what Almirón said. They were asking how much proof officials had, why the public could not hear more, and whether this rule gives referees too much power over moments nobody outside the pitch can judge clearly. Gustavo Alfaro did not act as if Paraguay knew nothing about the rule. He admitted the players had been warned. He said Almirón apologized. He said the player felt crushed for putting his team in that position. That matters. Alfaro did not build his whole defense on denial. But his reaction still carried frustration. Football has heat. It has friction. It has players barking at each other when a game starts slipping away. Nobody wants abuse protected. Nobody serious wants slurs shrugged off as passion. Still, fans can tell the difference between cleaning up the game and turning every emotional exchange into a trap. That trap now follows every team. The next time a player covers his mouth, opponents will appeal. Benches will jump. Broadcasters will replay it from every angle. Social media will freeze the frame before the referee even reaches his earpiece. A habit once treated as background behavior now carries red card danger. This creates a new kind of gamesmanship. A smart defender can provoke. A forward can react. A hand can rise for half a second. Suddenly, the whole match stops, not because someone got hurt, not because the ball crossed a line, because the referee must decide intent inside a flash of anger. That is a dangerous amount of judgment in a World Cup match. American fans understand this problem. They have watched every major league chase control through replay, discipline, and new language. The NFL spent years arguing over what counts as a catch. The NBA still debates flagrant fouls, taunting, and technicals. Major League Baseball polices sticky substances, pitch clocks, and mound visits. Every league tries to modernize. Every league then faces the same question: are we fixing the sport or draining the life from it? FIFA has now stepped into that exact fight. The clean defense says Almirón broke the rule. He knew the rule. The referee applied it. The suspension followed. Done. The harder truth sits beneath that clean defense. Fans never got a full public picture. They saw the punishment, not the full proof. They saw a player removed, not a clear explanation strong enough to close the argument. In a World Cup, that gap matters. A red card can change a country's tournament. A suspension can change a lineup. One missing player can shift tactics, confidence, pressure, even travel plans for thousands of fans waiting to see whether their team survives the group. Almirón's absence against Australia was not a minor detail. Paraguay lost pace, direct running, Premier League experience, and one of the few players casual viewers know by name. Opponents notice that. Australia noticed that. A team preparing for Paraguay with Almirón looks one way. A team preparing for Paraguay without him sees a different route into the match. That is the cost of one gesture. FIFA will argue discipline must carry weight. Without weight, players ignore it. Fair point. But discipline also needs trust. If people cannot understand why a World Cup player disappeared from the next game, they will fill the empty space with suspicion. And suspicion already surrounds this tournament. World Cup 2026 has been loaded with arguments over officiating, VAR, ticket prices, empty seats, travel problems, fan access, and rules landing in ways some supporters see as uneven. Each case may have its own explanation. Maybe each decision makes sense under the law. Maybe no pattern exists. Still, perception builds like pressure inside a locker room. One call becomes two. Two become five. Suddenly, every new controversy arrives with baggage from the last one. Paraguay did not create that mood. They became its latest symbol. The Almirón case also raised a second issue: speech around the tournament. Reports said a commentator lost credentials after an angry on-air attack on FIFA and the officials over the decision. That detail made the story feel bigger than discipline. Now fans saw a player punished, a media figure punished, and a debate about private speech turning into a debate about who gets to criticize FIFA at all. That optic hurts FIFA. If the goal is player protection, FIFA needs clarity. If the goal is fairness, FIFA needs consistency. If the goal is control, fans will smell it fast. Modern sports audiences do not wait for official statements anymore. They cut clips, they compare angles, they bring in former players, referees, translators, lip readers, and anyone else who can make a case. A decision made in seconds becomes hours of content. If the explanation feels thin, the internet writes its own. That is where FIFA sits now. The mouth-covering rule may come from a serious place. It may stop abuse. It may force players to think before they speak. But any rule built around hidden words and visible gestures needs more transparency than a normal foul. Fans can see a late tackle. They can see a shirt pull. They can see a goalkeeper clip a striker. They cannot see a sentence hidden behind a hand. So FIFA must decide how much it wants to reveal. Too little, and trust collapses. Too much, and private abuse turns into public spectacle. Neither choice looks easy. Almirón now carries the label nobody wants. First big example. Every future case will be compared to his. If a star from a bigger nation covers his mouth and stays on the field, Paraguay fans will bring this back. If another player gets sent off for the same thing, critics will say FIFA has turned emotion into a red card machine. If officials ignore the rule later, the whole system looks random. Consistency will decide whether this rule survives. For Paraguay, the story cuts both ways. On one hand, they survived the Turkey match with 10 men. That showed nerve. On the other hand, they walked into the Australia match without a key attacker because of a disciplinary moment fans still argue over. A victory should have felt clean. Instead, it carried controversy into the next game. That is how World Cups turn. Not only through goals, through suspensions, Through interpretation. Through moments players replay in their heads long after the stadium empties. Almirón covered his mouth for a few seconds. FIFA answered with a red card and a ban. Paraguay paid the price. Now every player left in the tournament has received the warning. The next World Cup scandal may not start with a reckless tackle, a missed penalty, or a VAR line across a boot. It may start with one hand near one mouth, one referee reaching for his pocket, and millions of fans asking what they were not allowed to hear.